This is Matt. This is Mental Model Monday number 17. And today we're going to talk about um, an inferential gap that I've noticed in certain people. Uh, Specifically, there are certain people who, when I say to them, hey, you might want to try thinking like this, or changing your personality to this, or being this no way in the world, they know how to do that. And there are other people who are like, okay, but give me the steps, give me the techniques, give me the words to say um, to do that, which is not really an effective way I found for personality change. There's other skills you need. So this is sort of similar to the inferential gap with relaxed mental inquiry we talked about in another episode, where if you don't have this skill, the skill of relaxed mental inquiry, you can't really do introspection in a way that other people are talking about. Similarly, if you don't have the skill of knowing how to uh, become another person and start to change your personality, then you can't. You sort of, when people say, "Oh, just be like this," you think it's like woo woo or weird or like not useful because you don't have this skill that I'm about to teach you today. So I haven't found like one specific uh, way to explain this like I have with relaxed mental inquiry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you sort of a number of little things you can start to do. Um, so the overall idea here is that you're trying to model, like, how can I create a model of the person that I'm trying to become with this suggestion? And then how can I run that model in myself? And so there's a number of ways that you can think about this. A number of little skills that can help you with creating and running this model. So the first one, so let's take the example of um, I'm trying to become more reflective and trying to be a person who reflects more and doesn't just blurt right out, and that sort of thing. So the first thing that I'm going to do when I'm trying to take on this new mindset is verbal overcompensation. So before I've integrated this fully at all levels, I'm going to verbally overexpress to others uh, the process that I'm going through. So that, first of all, because from a subcommunications perspective, I don't have the subcommunications down. So I need to over communicate verbally to get across the same thing that I'm doing. So from an expression perspective, that's important. The other thing that does is by saying it, by using the words, it's going to start to go into my brain. When I'm talking about things, I'm going to start to believe it due to a number of psychological effects. So if we're talking about being more introspective, so the verbal overcompensation would be something like, after somebody says something, get in the habit of saying something like, "Wow, I need to think about that. Give me a second to really process what you just said." Now I say that occasionally, but if I was first starting to try to become introspective, I would be saying this constantly, and I would be exaggerating it, and I'd be like going, let me think about that, to really start like over exaggerating the mental movements that I'm trying to do verbally, so that they actually get in my mind. Um, the second thing I'm gonna do is ask what questions a person like this would ask themselves. Now, you could ask yourself, like, what would a person say to themselves? But again, then you're thinking specific lines. What coming up with a question that a person with this mindset has does is it lets you generate a bunch of different statements. It puts you in a thought pattern that is congruent with the mindset that you want to take on. So a question, if I wanted to be more introspective, that I can ask myself, would be, so a few questions would be like, trying to continually ask myself, what can I learn from this situation? Another one would be, let's see, what can I learn from this situation? Um, why is that the case? Continually ask myself, what can I learn from that situation? And why is that the case? Internally is going to get my thought patterns moving in the direction. So that's one way. So one way is to verbally overcompensate and sort of get the thought patterns in that way. And the other way is to sort of ask questions. And I can get the thought patterns in this way. Finally, I want to look at the actual actions. Um, and so I'm going to build in a triggers for the actions of a person who would have this mindset. So a person who is very contemplative might have a trigger of when somebody says something, uh, take a moment to think about it before responding. And so I can then work on sort of creating that habit using a habit loop or whatever techniques you use to create habits. But the generator for the habits I'm getting is like imagining this person going through life and like how do I know that they have this habit? Like as an outside observer, how do I know? And then I start creating those triggers for myself. And so using these types of skills, you can begin to change who you are and how you interact and how you behave with other people. And if you have had trouble with this mindset, if someone have told you, you should start doing that, and you'd be like, well, yeah, easy for you to say, but like it's not that easy to actually do, then these are the skills you're missing. So the general model here is that I'm building a model of this type of person that would act like this, and then I'm trying to figure out how I can fit that model onto me. And you can use the tools I just mentioned to do that. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.